Hey guys, this is Josh here with Trillium Wild Edibles, and today I wanted to show you an identification video on Queen Anne's lace, or wild carrot, or as it's known by its scientific name, Daucus carota. These very large white umbelled flowers that we're looking at right here is Daucus carota, or the wild carrot. This plant has an extremely distinct flower, as you can notice here. It's in the shape of an umbel with white flowers. Now you might be asking yourself, what exactly is an umbel? An umbel is like an upside down umbrella. Right here it gives you guys a really good idea of what it looks like whenever you turn it at a silhouette angle. You can see that it is somewhat like an upside down umbrella, which is why it's called an umbel of flowers. The plant that we're looking at today is extremely large and has about 5 or 6 different flower heads on it. Now the flowers of Queen Anne's lace, or wild carrot, are rather unique not only in their shape, but in the fact that they usually will have a purple floret in the center. Now whenever we look very closely at this cluster of white flowers, you might notice that there are 5 petals. I apologize for this being out of focus a little bit. This is just very hard to show this in detail. But right here on this flower, you guys may be able to notice the 1, 2, 3 petals, and then the 2 very small ones right there at the bottom. I apologize for the shakiness here. This is just really hard because of these things' size. There you can see my index finger, so it gives you an idea of how small these flowers of each one of these individual flowers can actually be. Here's another really good view of what an umbel of flowers would look like, and you can see all of these different branches that each has a cluster of white flowers. Now another thing that you might notice is the flower bracts underneath the flower, just like you can see. These are very unique in shape, and they're very sharply divided. These flower bracts will go all the way around at the base or the node where the flower joins the very top of the stem, and you will notice this on every flower cluster. And then if we look here from this angle, you guys can see more of those bracts right back in here. Now another interesting thing to note, remember how I said sometimes you'll see a purple flower or floret in the center? You won't always find that. Note that there isn't one on this umbel right here in my hand. And there also isn't a purple flower in the center of this huge white umbel either. And these are all on the exact same plant. But if we look on this one, we can see that purple floret right there in the center. It looks like a black speck, but that is the purple flower that is distinctive of Queen Anne's lace. Okay, so now that we've taken a look at the flowers of Queen Anne's lace, or Daucus carota, let's go ahead and take a look at its very unique leaves. Now, seeing how this plant is a carrot, it is a wild carrot, its leaves look just like domestic carrot leaves. And that's one of the really nice things about this plant, is that it's kind of hard to mistake for something else. Now, it does have a toxic look-alike, and that is poison hemlock. Now last year I actually did a video on a comparison between Queen Anne's lace, yarrow, and poison hemlock. So if you're interested, I'll put a link in the description down below, so that way you guys can check that out. Now the leaves of Queen Anne's lace, or wild carrot, are in a pinnate compound shape, meaning that they're very sharply divided, and sometimes it's going to look like multiple leaves when it's actually one whole leaf, because the leaf is divided into these compound structures. Now you may notice on this leaf here in front of us how these individual leaflets are very spaced out, whereas on some other leaves, like on this leaf right here, you can see that the leaflets are a lot more close together. So there is going to be some variation within these leaves. Now another thing that we might notice if we look really close is that each one of these at the tip right here comes to a very sharp point, and there are actually small teeth on the ends of these pinnate compound leaflets. Now if we look at the leaf stem that holds the leaves, we are going to notice these little hairs running down its length. Another thing that you're going to notice on the leaves of Queen Anne's lace, or Daucus carota, is on the very top of the leaf stem, you're going to see this very distinct groove running all the way down. Okay, so now that we've taken a look at the leaves and the flowers, let's take a quick look at the stem of Queen Anne's lace. Now, just like you can see here, the stem is round. There's really no discerning features except for the hairs that you can see right here running all up and down the length of the stem. And every stem on this plant will have these hairs, the leaf stems and the main stems. So that's something important to keep in mind because poison hemlock does not have these hairs or these fuzz. They feel like bristles. They feel like bristles on like a really small brush. They're kind of stiff, but they're also kind of soft at the same time. They don't prick, they don't make any stings or itching sensations, at least not within me. It's a very easy plant to identify. It also smells like carrot. Most of the entire plant has a faint but very pleasant carrot smell with kind of a sweetness to it. It's really, really nice whenever you smell this plant. It's one of the things that can help you to identify it as Queen Anne's lace. However, that's not something you'd want to try if you think that you might have a hemlock instead of a Queen Anne's lace. Now you guys might be wondering, where all does Queen Anne's lace grow and how tall does it grow? This plant can grow up to about 6.5, even 7 feet tall in some rare cases. Usually though, you're going to find it about this tall, which this is about 5.5 feet tall right now. Queen Anne's lace is a field-loving plant, so it usually grows on the edges of clearings, like you can see here on the edge of this woodlot on my property. You can also find it in very large fields. You can find it on the edges of corn and bean fields. You can even find it growing in your lawn. I have quite a bit of it trying to grow in my lawn, for a good example. Now back over there, those white flowers, those huge white bouquet or umbels of flower clusters is some more Queen Anne's lace. So that gives you guys kind of an idea that it can grow on the edges of woodlots. It's a very sun-loving plant, but it also tolerates the shade rather well. So that's kind of a good thing. Now this plant is an edible plant and it's also a medicinal plant. I'm not too sure of its medicinal uses though, so I won't talk about that today. However, I will discuss its edibility for just a split second. The young stalks before the plant has flowered, like you see here, are actually edible raw after you peel off the skin. I don't have any at that stage yet, but it is something to keep in mind that not only the root of this plant is edible, but also the young shoots. Some people have told me that they can't eat the flowers of this plant, but I have never tried that myself, so I can't say whether they taste any good. However, whenever you come to dig up the root of this plant, which you should be doing in the fall, you're going to notice that the root is white and it has a very faint but sweet and pleasant carrot odor to it. You want to dig up the root in the fall because during this time of the year, all the plant's nutrients are up in the plant, and in the fall, it will send all those down to the root. It's a very easy plant to dig up. However, the roots are extremely tiny and can be kind of woody. So they're better for flavoring than really eating as like a carrot substitute. So that's how you guys identify Queen Anne's lace or Daucus carota, and I thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned just a little bit of something. If you want to learn more about edible or medicinal plants, please make sure to subscribe.